mute. Okay, welcome everyone to the live streaming of TechSabado on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel TechSabado. Ngayon po ay January 30, 2021, Episode 5, Season 6 ng TechSabado. TechSabado is a weekly live streaming tech show based in the Philippines. Tama niyo po, Jean Garcia ng TechSabado.com and the Manila Times. Siyempre, every Saturday since 2015, kasama natin in our broadcast, walang iba kundi si Attorney
Melvin Kalimag po ng Newsbytes.PH. Magandang umaga, gabi, tanghali. Nahuli ka na naman, Jing, na nakaano yun.
nga hindi talaga ako masanay dito sa mute natin, no? Kahit panahon pa ng pandemic last year. Anyway, welcome po sa live streaming namin dito sa Facebook. Episode 5 na tayo. Attorney, tapos na ang January.
Ang bilis, no? Buti naman walang nangyaring medyo kapabalaghan. Unlike last year na pumutok yung Taal, Bulkang Taal.
Nandun kami nun. Nandun ako nun.
Tapos namatay si Kobe Bryant.
So, mabigat nga, no? Yung mga
mabigat yung last year. Sana tuloy-tuloy na hanggang buong taon.
Oo, pero siyempre alam naman natin we're still under under a global pandemic. Medyo hindi pa rin natin kontrolado ang ating mga buhay. Kinokontrol pa rin po tayo ng coronavirus. Mahigit mag-isang taon na. Actually, no, this is the first yung January talagang gumagapang-gapang na yung mga balita galing China. If you recall, ito na po yung start, tapos February. By this time, Attorney, di ba, nag-ano na tayo sa mga hotels, sa mga establishment, medyo inaano na tayo, binabaril na tayo ng mga thermal scanner at this time, ng mga panahon na yon. Pero wala pang utos tungkol sa mask. Pero nag-i-start na. Ito na yun. Kumbaga mag-i-start na.
Pero March talaga yung lockdown, no?
Yes, nag-start yung lockdown natin nung March 2020 and that started it all.
Nakala natin 15 days lang or 20 days or something like that.
Yes. Ano na ba tayo ngayon? GCQ pa rin ba?
GCQ, buong February actually. GCQ.
Sa dami na nagpa-party mga mga high profile personalities and mga tao, yung mga nasa taas, yung mga nasa kapangyarihan. Sa dami na nila nagwawalwala na, hindi na natin alam kung ano na talaga sitwasyon natin ngayon.
Kaya nga. So,
only for the rich.
Kung matatanda mo yung matanda na sa Caloocan na jeepney driver, kinulong, tapos pinagpiyansa ng 10,000 yata yun. Grabe, nakakaawa.
Pag talaga, pag medyo walang-wala ka sa buhay, walang-wala ka talagang connection.
No. Yung nga sabi nila, tatsulok no? Sila ang nasa tuktok.
Grabe. Pero totoo naman yun. Anywhere in the world. Nabasa nga ako ng isang article na I think it was in the UK. It was a UK article na sinasabi nga, paano susunod sa iyo yung mga taong nasa baba kung lahat ng nasa taas ay lumalabag sa batas? It was a hard-hitting article about yung nangyayari nga sa pandemic. And it's not only here, it's also happening abroad. Yun na nga yung
correct. Jing, natin, batiin natin unang batch ng
pumasok na agad.
Facebook viewers natin, si Cecil Chan Katakutan. Of course, ang aking classmate, si Masuki natin yan. Magandang gabi po, Kateki Sabado from Imos Cavite.
Yeah.
Si June Natividad, nanonood din. Good evening. Si Alex Fuentes, watching from the City of Smiles, Bacolod City. Si Alex Fuentes.
Good evening, Alex.
Si Rory Visco. Oy, happy birthday. Birthday ni Rory nung nakaraan.
Alam mo pala. Bingo. Alam mo, sorry, Attorney, nakalimutan kitang batiin last week. Happy birthday.
Okay lang.
Oo, hindi okay yun. Kasi partners in crime tayo, tapos hindi man lang kita nabati last week. Hindi kasi, alam mo, may small group tayo sa Facebook kaya nagkabatian na doon kaya nawala sa isip ko na ibatiin ka live. Pero yan po, batiin niyo po si Attorney. Birthday niya last week.
Friday last week. Thank you.
Pero
Si
ganun
Dong
pa man, teka lang remind
yes.
natin mga viewers natin kung paano nila suportahan yung TechSabado. May link po kami sa Facebook namin saka sa YouTube video sa baba. Ganun po yan. Sige, tuloy attorney, sorry.
Si Dong Bernardo, ang ating kaibigang PR. Yan, mabait yan, no? At magaling. Si Dong.
Dong, yes.
Is watching. Parang first time ko nakita si Dong dito, no?
Parang
good evening,
Good evening, Dong.
Si Julie Tanaka, good evening. TechSabado, it's a cold weekend here in Cebu.
Yan ang parating nakikinig sa atin.
Dito rin naman, malamig. Kayo ng umaga, malamig, di ba? Kayo ng umaga.
Malamig. Tagaytay din malamig. Nasa Makati ako ngayon pero mamaya ako show.
Nag-ride kami kanina, papaakyat sa Novali, tapos papuntang Tagaytay. Masarap mag-ride kasi kahit paahon, malamig. Yan, so okay lang. Binabati ko pa lang aking mga orgmates at college mates sa UP na kasama ko sa nagbike kanina, si Ronan Prudencio, si Neil Bueno, tsaka si Edo Gracias. Okay? Si Alvin Pingol, good evening. Nanonood din siya. Si Junifer Dizon Alipaw. Yan, suki din natin yan. Sabi ni Michael Lance, Jing, ano po bang short selling? Mamaya makinig ka. Kasi
pag-uusapan natin yan mamaya.
Pag-uusapan natin yan sa
mag-explain sa atin. Actually, ako hindi ko rin maintindihan kahit na meron kaming involvement sa stock market. Hindi ko rin masyado naintindihan, pero sa guest natin, papa-explain natin yan sa nangyari. Alam ko na yung pag-uusapan, sinasabi ni Michael Lance, yung nangyari sa GameStop sa US.
Correct. Si RJ Espinosa, good evening. Nakikinig din siya from Davao City. Duterte land, pero nakikinig sa atin si RJ.
Oo naman. Welcome naman kahit sino rito sa atin.
Salamat RJ.
Wag lang manipis ng mga balat.
No. Si Mylene, mga sir, ang aking upperclassman sa Vimapa High School. Meron siyang teacher to Jing. Tapos meron silang tinutulungan ng mga estudyante. Gumawa sila ng kanta sa YouTube. Ito popost ko yung link. Tignan niyo po, baka suportahan po natin yung video na yan, kung ano pong pwede niyong extend na tulong kay Teacher Mylene at saka kay Teacher Lara. Ayan. Pinost ko po. Sana po tignan niyo, panoorin niyo po yung yung theme song nila, Project Rise theme song. Ayan. Kay Mylene, mga sir, ang butihing anak ng aming teacher ng high school, si Ma'am Erlinda, mga sir, na siyang na-teacher din ngayon, si Miss Mylene, mga sir. Ayan po, tignan niyo po yung link sa comment section. Okay, si Ferdinand Bugaring, good evening. Nanonood din siya. Sabi ni June Natividad, HBD, Attorney Melvin, nabot mo ang e-head sa UP. Yes, of course. Oo. Kasagsagan ng kasikatan. Ng e-heads. Natanda ko pa ng Jing yung launch ng Caterpillar ba yun? Yung
album.
Yung album sa launch nila sa Sunken Garden.
Concert.
Ang ticket, wala kang ticket. Kailangan lang bumili ka ng
album.
Yung tape, actually. Yung tape. Album ba yun o tape? Parang tape lang pwede na.
Yung tape kasi hindi na masyado uso kasi plaka nung by that time. CD na lang tape.
Tapos, eventually, dahil sa sobrang daming tao, yung harang na sawali, natumba rin. So, yung mga tao, nagpasukan din.
Yun, sabi ni Jerome Policarpio, happy birthday daw. Magandang gabi po, Attorney Melvin and Boss Jing, nasa YouTube channel nanonood.
Oo, si Jerome, kaibigan ko yan. Dito sa Pasig, si Gio, ads. Kung papagawa po kayo ng mga signages, ads, tarpaulin, yung may ilaw na ads, shampoo, this is the man, si Jerome, si Gio Ads. Yan, galing yan.
Good evening, Sir Jing and Attorney Mel, sabi ni Peho sa YouTube.
Okay. Sabi ni Rolando Fermin, I saw some testimonies weeks ago of how she helped people through her trading platform. I decided to get... Nako, mukhang ano to
Spam yan, Baris.
Parang spam, Sorry. Si Alex Fuentes, of course, watching. Si Mel Dominguez. Maraming salamat, Miss Mel Dominguez. Of course, si Julie Tanaka. Thank you, happy birthday. Salamat po. Si Lador Reyes Amora. Present here mga bossing, sabi niya ganyan. Watching Congressional Town Center, Quezon City.
Okay.
Ayun, okay. Ang ating unang bugso ng ating mamaya siguro bago tayo magtapos, batiin natin yung iba kasi hanggang 9:50 naman interview ng guest natin. We still have around 15 minutes to wrap up yung yung show. Batiin natin yung yung mga natitira pa.
So sa mga nagko-comment, please identify. Ginagawa na natin yung ISP ninyo, ginagawa na natin to every week, or yung inyong internet service provider and the speed you're getting, kung gaano po kabilis ang ang internet sa inyong lugar, para makita po at ma-monitor ito ng mga internet providers tulad ng PLDT, Smart, Converge at Globe, ang kanilang mga services sa kanilang mga subscribers, para makita nila kung gaano kayo kabilis mag-comment o ano or ano yung speed na nakikita nilang nasabi niyong posted sa ating comment section. Ilagay din niyo po kung wired o wireless ang pag-access nyo sa ating weekly programs, TechSabado, at syempre pag Wednesdays in between. Yan po, parang konting yan, kasayahan lang para maging interactive tayo.
Ayun, okay. So, siguro, Jing, discuss muna natin mga top stories for, for the week. Ano ba yung mga...
Gusto ko na nga sana i-discuss yung yung nangyari sa GameStop, pero gusto ko i-reserve yun mamaya para mas maganda. Kasi baka mamaya magkamali ako sa explanation. Mas maganda yung guest natin. Mamaya po, yung guest namin...
Mga experts, no?
Oo, experts po sila sa trading. Unang-una, hawak po nila dito. Ang pag-usapan natin mamaya yung Bitcoin. Bakit ba naging 1.6 million na ang isang Bitcoin ngayon? Actually, ang bilis ng yung pagbago-bago ng ng pera sa palitan ng Bitcoin. Actually 2 or 3 days ago 1.4 million ito, ngayon nasa 1.6. Alam mo ba, attorney, pumalo ito ng 1.9, isa sa pinakamataas niyang yung mataas niyang trading exchange rate ng Bitcoin. 1.9 million sa isang
pesos ba yan?
Oo, pesos. Sa isang Bitcoin.
Kaya nga dati, 'di ba, nabanggit natin may isang Bitcoin trader na tinapon niya yung hard drive niya sa basura. Nandun pala yung password niya.
Accidentally niya sigurong naitapon or nawala yung hard drive niya. Hindi niya ngayon ma-recover. Pero according to him, allegedly over $200 million worth of Bitcoins yun nasa kanyang hard drive.
Speaking of Bitcoin, Jing, bago tayo, mamaya naman di-discuss natin yan, di ba? Pero, banggitin ko lang yung BSP, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, nag-issue ng guidelines ng virtual currency operators.
Yes.
So lahat ng forms ng virtual currency, cryptocurrency ngayon under na ng licensing requirements ng BSP.
Okay.
So if you are a Bitcoin operator or exchange operator, virtual currency business, you have to get a license from the BSP.
Alam ko nangyayari dyan kasi ang daming scam ngayon. Diba, attorney?
Correct.
Even sa mga Facebook post, nakikita nyo, ang dami nagpo-post tungkol dyan sa mga comment section tungkol dyan sa Bitcoin. Mamaya, antayin natin yung guest natin para makaiwas kayo sa mga scam na yan pagdating po sa Bitcoin.
Jing, gusto mo basahin muna natin yung mga tawag doon, yung mga internet speed ng ibang nagpo-post na mga natin.
Sige. Tingnan natin, meron na ba?
Marami na. Si Michael Ladd, sabi niya, PLDT wired 8.77 Mbps from Las Piñas. Mababa yan, ha?
Baba yan, Michael.
Kung wired yan.
Oo, baba yan.
Michael Ladd.
Pang wireless dapat lang yan.
Ito si Ron Francisco, Eastern Telecoms, uplink niya is 37, downlink is 48. Okay, not bad. That's very fast actually. Sino ba?
Actually, kaya po namin hihingi itong mga mga connection speed nyo. Kasi alam nyo naman, this week may nabalita na naman, di ba, attorney?
Ano yan?
Na laggard na naman tayo. Talagang yung ibang countries pumapalo na ng 100 Mbps mahigit. Tayo nasa...
So wired ba yan o mobile?
Wired.
Wired,
Tayo,
tama.
nasa 2 digits
22,
pa rin tayo. Nag-3 digits ng ibang country.
yung mobile internet is 22 Mbps, no?
Talagang,
So,
ito na naman tayo, no? Talagang, yun na nga, tuwing ano tayo, madadagdagan tayo ng speed ng another 10 or 20. Ibang country naman, dumadagdag din. So, yung, ano pa rin, yung kumbaga, may iwan pa rin talaga. Ano pa meron? Si Ron, bilis nung ano mo, not bad na yan, for ano.
Sino?
Si Iowa James, TTNT, 60 Mbps.
Grabe.
Not bad.
Malano yan, Si Arvin de la Cruz, ang aking batchmate nung high school, sabi niya, PLDT wired daw, F50 Mbps. Pero ako rin, Jing, actually, PLDT wired din ako. Nasa ganyan din currently yung ano ko, yung speed ko.
Speed mo. Okay. Ako sa Tagaytay, yung stream tech ko, pumapalo ng 25 Mbps yun, fiber yun. Pero kasi yung binabayad ko pang for that amount of speed talaga. So kumbaga katumbas lang nung yung actual payment ko for that. Kunyari kasi sabi nila 25 makukuha ko at this kind of payment, monthly payment. Yun talaga nakukuha ko. Pero dito ngayon, ang nakukuha ko ay 13 Mbps. Wag. 13 Mbps ako. Siguro sumasabay kasi sa live streaming.
Siguro. Ayun. Sige. Okay. So, banggitin lang natin, Jing, yung yung mga some of the stories that came out this week, no? Alam mo yung tanda mo, 'di ba? Was it last week ba yung natin, yung guest natin from Mobile Legends tournament? Oo. 'Di ba interview natin sila? Dalawa sila, 'di ba?
Oo.
Yung sila natalo sila. Natalo sila ng sa Indonesia. Kasi sabi nila powerhouse Indonesia. Pero yung isang Philippine team na sumali, sila yung nag-champion.
Talaga.
Yung Brand Esports.
Minention nga nila yung Brand Esports.
Sila yung nag-champion. Sila yung global champion ngayon. Reigning champion.
Good.
So,
good news yun.
That put the Philippines as one of the top, if not the top country right now for Mobile Legends, no? So, dahil champion, dahil tinumba niya yung Indonesia twice. Yung eBrand Sports. Yung tumalo dun sa kay Omega, Smart Omega.
Sa Smart Omega, tinalo ng Brand Esports. Yeah.
Kumbaga, avenge yung talo. Tapos, yung isa pang Indonesian team na powerhouse din, tinalo niya rin. Kaya magagaling tong
magaling tong brand
kaya sinabi rin naman ni Team Omega na talagang magaling din talaga Pilipinas, paano din talaga powerhouse din. It's just that na-ambush tayo ng Indonesia, which is, by the way, is still also a powerhouse din. Ayun, so
yung isang napabalita, grabe, kahit nasabihin nilang tapos na ang maliligayang araw ng Apple, mukhang hindi pa. Dahil tinalo na naman ng Apple. Naging ng Apple lahat ng cellphones sales nung fourth quarter ng 2020.
Sila talo na naman ang top. They're now the top. No fourth quarter, Jing. Pero overall, the whole 2020, Samsung pa rin.
Pero nung fourth quarter,
tinumba sila nung
kasi yata dahil di ba? Lumabas yung bago, kalalabas na kasi ng bagong
iPhone 12.
Nagbilihan yung mga tao despite the pandemic. Nagbilihan pa rin yung mga tao ng 60,000.
Sabi nga yung comment nga dun ng IDC, parang despite the pandemic, grabe daw yung take up ng smartphones. That only goes to show na ganon ka importante smartphones now during the pandemic, di ba? Otherwise, ba't naman bibili yung mga tao kung hindi siya mahalaga, di ba? Ganon katindi.
Hindi, no? Tapos Apple pa yung nag-number 1 noong December.
Ano ba dapat?
Hindi, di ba Samsung nga dapat number 1?
Oo.
Pero yun na nga, sa fourth quarter,
mahal ang iPhone eh. Mahal ang iPhone di ba?
Yun na nga eh. Yung iPhone,
Ibig,
especially iPhone 12 kasi bagong-bago 'to.
ibig ba sabihin ba nun, mas dumaming pera ng mga tao kasi mas mahal yan eh.
Hindi sila masyado gumastos. Hindi sila masyado lumabas, 'di ba?
Alam mo, Jing, maraming naghirap during the pandemic.
No, yeah, no
Pero
kidding.
pero marami rin ang yumaman. Totoo lang.
Totoo yan. Maraming yung mga mayayaman na-save nila yung pera nila. Hindi sila gumastos.
Or
Yung mga
nakahanap
nawalan
sila
ng
ng
trabaho,
business na patok during the pandemic.
oo.
Oo.
Yeah.
So
Kaya
yun
nga,
ang ano.
katulad ng
Marami, kunyari, food delivery or outsource work or siguro video and gaming, whatever. O kaya yung mga
Zoom na lang
gamit
eh.
sa work
Ang
from
laki ng
home.
kinita ng Zoom.
O Zoom, yun. Isa pa yun.
Diba?
Diba? Oo.
Kaya nga ating mga sinasabi, napakaswerte, kahit pa paano, napakaswerte po ng Pilipinas na medyo, hindi naman sa perfect na, pero nakapag-establish na tayo ng foundation when it comes to digital transformation. Kumbaga, nailatag na natin even before the pandemic. Kasi may mga countries na ibang countries dyan na ngayon pa lang sila nag-digitize, ngayon pa lang sila naka-experience ng mga ng mga e-commerce, iba nga, ngayon pa lang nga nagkaka-4G, yung mga gano'n eh. Pero tayo sa Pilipinas, kahit paano, kahit mabagal internet, we cope, di ba? Siguro, part na rin yun ng resiliency natin.
Correct ko dyan. Oo. Speaking of businesses during the pandemic, Jing, yung government, specifically the DICT, has officially launched yung Central Business Portal or CBP. Ito yung parang business registration website, parang one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. Okay, that's good.
Where business or entrepreneurs can file their applications for permits and other licenses. They need to put up their businesses, no? Their ventures. Yun, so para hindi ka napipila, hindi ka napupunta sa government offices na baka mamaya doon ka pa makakuha ng COVID, di ba? Tapos mas convenient na lang to kasi nga nasa bahay ka lang, you pay it through yung mga various payment options like Paymaya, GCash,
yes,
'di ba, mga fund transfers ng BPI, yun, ganun. So this is a big development kasi matagal na 'tong project ng government, ngayon lang din na talaga na launch, although it's still being introduced by phases. Ang first phase, muna yung gusto nila, unified application process. Tapos marami pang second, third phases. Marami pang mga government agencies and merchants na isasama.
Okay. Yung parang hindi, kahit na medyo na-delay ng konti, still nandiyan na yan. Just imagine kung nagawa na natin yan years ago, di mas maganda na sana yung takbo ng mga businesses ngayon, especially sa panahon ngayon ng pandemya. Pero still, we have to kudos to the DICT and of course yung mga agency na tumutulong diyan na talagang giving this a priority, especially now na kailangan natin.
Yung banggitin ko lang yun, yung sambalitan na nilabas natin sa Newsbytes.PH, yung may kasi napabalita na grabe daw yung massive tayo na. Yung dropout rate sa mga estudyante natin. Because of distance learning. Pero dinenay ito ng DepEd. Ang sabi nila, based daw sa field reports nila, yung mga estudyante raw, hindi raw daw nag-dropout. They merely shifted from one mode of learning to another. Or kaya, for example, dati naka-online sila. Nag-module sila. Parang ganon. O kaya, sabi nila, it's either dahil nga wala namang pasok, nag-migrate from one location to another, yung
Okay.
yung mga
Yes.
estudyante. Kunyari, kung taga-probinsya sila at nandito sa Maynila nag-aaral, bumalik sila sa probinsya
Yes.
para
Kasi wala namang point na nandito sila sa Manila kung no, especially mga nagdo-dorm lang dito, 'di ba? Or
Correct.
yung mga nakikitira lang sa mga mag-anak, might as well bumalik sila sa probinsya nila at doon sila kumuha at doon sila mag-settle down for their own education. At saka
Tama ka
rin,
dyan.
siguro kasi may mga complaints no, na lumalabas, especially now na isa sa mga complaints yata na nababasa ko yung attention span daw ng mga bata. Hindi daw nagfo-focus sa sa distance learning, no? Kasi nga gamit cellphone o kaya laptop or PC, tapos may baka behind the scene hindi alam ng mga teachers, may ibang inaatupag, lalaro pala o nagcha-chat sa mga kaibigan. Hindi kasi natin maalis yun, 'di ba, attorney? Unang-una, unprecedented 'to, ngayon lang ito nangyari, 'di ba? Yung massive talaga yung sitwasyon na lahat naka-online, naka-distance learning lahat ng mga estudyante sabay-sabay. And hindi natin hindi natin mapa-perfect agad yung sitwasyon dahil nga ngayon lang ito nangyari. Even the schools themselves, for the first time, marami diyang first time nilang ginawa ito. So talagang kailangan pang maraming pang plantsahin, kailangan pang maraming ayusin talaga. So, pero totoo yan na alam ko naman yung nahirapan sila yung attention span ng mga bata. Dahil nga, imagine, dati problema nila hindi tumututok yung mga bata dati ang problema nila parating nasa cellphone o parating nasa computer mga bata. Ngayon, ang problema nila hindi nagfo-focus sa computer o sa cellphone yung mga bata. Baliktad naman ngayon. Mas gusto nila nakatingin yun. Kasi minsan, attorney, may problema rin kasi yung sobrang screen time, especially for children. Yung mga studies na rin kasi na the light emitted by these devices, the gadgets, actually, tinatawag na yung blue light nun, kasi hindi lang napapansin ng mga tao, pero yung blue light na lumalabas dito sa nag-emit nitong mga screen, nakakapagod sa mata ng mga tao. Kung lalagpas ng 4 o 5 oras sila nakatutok sa screen, magkakaroon yung screen burn na tinatawag, magkakaroon silang problema. Kasi napapagod yung mata nila sa kakatingin lang sa mga devices na yan.
Sabi ni Deneng Donna, sabi niya, prepaid lang po ang gamit sa lima ko anak sa online class. Bawal
Yun din
games
isang problema rin.
YouTube para di maubos agad ang data niya. Isang problema rin.
Problema,
daling maubos din. Kasi mga bata minsan saan ginagamit, nag-Facebook, nag-YouTube.
Yes, oo nga. Pero delikado rin talaga na yung screen time masyadong matagal for kids. Kailangan din talaga yung mga schools, they should adjust. Hindi yung kasi napansin ko yung ibang eskwela parang kung ano yung ginagawa nila sa school, tuloy-tuloy yung 8 hours nilang 8 hours nilang pasok sa eskwela. Akala nila they can also do it in front of a computer in a computer or 'di ba sa mga bata, pero hindi po ganoon may mga schools nag-adjust sila kung paano nila gagawin through distance learning, pero iba parang feeling ng ibang teachers na kung anong ginagawa nila sa school dapat yun din ang gagawin nila sa behind the camera, 'di ba, in front of the camera, in front of the camera na magtuturo din sila 2 hours, 1 hour lecture, tapos lahat sila may lecture na hanggang buong araw. Hindi po gano'n. Mapapagod din po yung mga mata ng mga bata, especially the young ones. Oo, 'di ba?
Correct, tama ka diyan, Jing. Sabi ni sino ba 'to? May nag-comment na tip daw para nahanap ko yung comment na
Ang dami
Sabi ni
pumapasok
Eli
ng
Mendoza, si Eli Mendoza, sabi niya, tip para mag-focus ang kids, connect a loudspeaker. Kapag built-in speaker kasi mahina, madaling mag-zone out.
Oo.
Pwede.
Dapat hindi naka-headphones yung mga bata. Dapat naririnig din ng magulang kung ano yung
Nandoon pinag-uusapan,
Oo. Speakers. Kaso ang problema, pag 4 anak mo sabay-sabay, anong gagawin nila, di ba?
Maingay, no?
Maingay din.
Oo.
Ang dami nag-i-scam,
Oo nga.
Financial spammers na to.
pero gusto ko yung yung tip na binigay ni Eli Mendoza ng smart communication. Sabi ni Michael Lance, kanina nabanggit natin yung mga businesses na nag-boom, di ba? Game industry daw, sabi naman ni Ida James, yung live game streaming. Yan. Mga artista at professional athletes na matumal makakuha ng gigs are getting into gaming. Aba? Well, they have to find ways, di ba?
Sa mga nag-i-spam po sa amin ngayon, nagko-comment, dinidelete po kayo at binablock na po kayo ng amin mga technical teams. Kaya wag na po kayo magtiyaga. Baliwala lang po yung ginagawa ninyo sa amin.
Ayun.
Binablock lang po kayo automatic.
Si Noynet Garcia, sabi niya, present, bawal ang absent sa TechSabado. Thank you,
yes,
Noynet.
Thank you. Sabi ni Jerome Policarpio sa YouTube, sabi niya naka-PLDT fiber sa Kainta, 28.1 Mbps. Tapos ang kanyang download speed, ang kanyang upload, 28.4, parang halos pantay Usually bihira magpantay ang mga upload sa download speed. Sabi ni 1600, cheers Attorney Mel and boss Maestro Jing.
Yung si Jerome kaya na village mate ko dito sa Kainta, sa Greenwoods Executive Village. Yeah.
Shout out po Attorney Mel and Sir Jing, Aba Cruz. Ayan, Aba, kumusta? Taga saan ka, Aba? Anong connection speed mo?
Aba Cruz. Okay. Yan.
Yeah, medyo tumigil yung spam. Ni-spam tayo ng mga yung mga financial Dami ko nakikitang ganyan sa mga news stream, yung mga news platform tulad ng ng mga GMA, Inquirer, saka
ABS.
Rappler, ABS, malabas yan pati tayo dinadamay nila. Pero automatic po kayong dinidelete at dinablock ng aming mga admins. Kung akala nyo sa amin, kami lang dalawa dito ni Atty. Melvin nagpapatakbo nitong TechSabado.
Ayun. Okay. So, almost 8:40 na. Introduce na ba natin ating guest or
Pwede.
meron tayong di ba? Papatakboy na ads ba, Jing?
Wala pa. Wala pa. Next week pa. Ginagawa pa natin.
Okay.
Mga ads natin by next week. Thank you.
Ayun. Okay. Ang topic natin for tonight, as some of you might already know, ay Bitcoin.
Magpapa-update tayo kasi it's been a while since we talked about Bitcoin sa TechSabado. According to our guest nga, it was 5 years ago the last time we talked
almost
5 years ago,
yung years na in-stay natin sa Radyo 5.
Early days ng Radyo 5 natin yun. So, hindi lang matagal na. So right now, I think that anong time na yun, sabi nga niya, 5,000 pesos lang yata yung Bitcoin 5 years ago. Pero ngayon is 1.6 million pesos na po isang Bitcoin. So iyan po yung pag-uusapan natin, paano nangyari ito, paano kayo papasok sa ganitong business, hindi man business, pero paano kayo papasok sa mundo ng cryptocurrency at paano kayo hindi ma-scam. Kasi yan po ang usong-uso ngayon. May isa kang report yata ako nakita sa Newsbytes.PH na parang sinabi yata ng Department of Finance na tumaas ang online scam. Hindi ko alam kung DOF o DTI nagsabi na tumaas yung online scam noong 2020.
Correct.
Diba? Yes. So yan po isa po sa pinaka-favorite ng mga online scammers ngayon, yan Bitcoin. Makikita nyo even po yung mga nag-i-spam sa atin sa mga comment sections, usually it's all about Bitcoin din. So yan po, pag-usapan natin ngayong gabi sa TechSabado.
Ayun.
Ready na ba yung guest natin?
Yes, of course. Ang dating guest for tonight, Dati na siya nag-guest, pero tulad nga ng sinabi natin, 5 years ago pa yun. So medyo matagal na talaga. That's almost the entire life of TechSabado, no? Okay, walang iba, ano siya. Dati, iba rin ang affiliation niya. Siya pa rin, he's still connected with Satoshi, ano ba to? Kalimutan ko tuloy. Well, anyway, mamaya, paano natin. Satoshi Citadel. Yun, okay, Satoshi Citadel. The co-founder, si Miguel Cuneta. Good evening, Miguel. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, good evening, Miguel. Yes.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Yeah. Okay, I forgot the second name of Satoshi, no? Citadel pala.
Citadel. Yeah. That was yun yung company namin na sinimulan namin noong 2014 dito sa Philippines. So we were one of the first Bitcoin companies established in the Philippines. Tapos by 2017, nagkaroon na ng BSP regulation. So nagka-license na kami to actually trade cryptocurrencies for pesos. So naging covered na ng BSP.
Miguel, na-update na yung 2017 regulation na guidelines. They have a new guidelines.
May mga recent regulatory updates na
Yes, that is correct.
Si Miguel nag-guess sa atin every time. Si Miguel nag-guess sa atin every time may bagong regulation ng BSP cryptocurrency.
Okay, to join us also as one of our expert resource persons, he's from from a company called Binance or Binance, whatever. Binance or Binance. He's the director for Southeast Asia. He used to also be part of yung Coins.PH.
Yes.
The fintech company. Let's welcome Colin, Goltra. Good evening, Colin.
Hey everybody. This is Colin from Binance. Yeah. Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
It's Binance, not Binance, right? Binance.
Yeah. Tomato, right? But yeah, I think I say Binance. Yeah.
Okay, Jing, throw the first question.
Okay, any one of you can answer this, no? But for the benefit of our viewers right now, no, sa live stream natin, can you just explain to us what Bitcoin is, where it started, how you should one should be into cryptocurrency?
Sige. Ako na lang, I'll do that. I'll do that, and I'll do it in a few minutes. But usually it takes many months to understand Bitcoin. Pero matagal ko na ito ginagawa for the last 6 years. I do talk sa mga schools and sa mga institutions to explain what this technology is, and that's really what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a new technology. And it just so happens that it's a financial technology. And inimbento siya in 2008 by an anonymous person na hindi pa rin natin alam kung sino siya hanggang ngayon.
Hindi ba siya si Satoshi Nakamoto?
Pangalan niya Satoshi Nakamoto. Yes.
That's the name that he used.
He used Satoshi Nakamoto. Basically, in-announce niya sa isang public channel ng mga cryptography experts na he has created a new electronic cash system. And this is where everything started, no? Syempre, ang unang sagot ng mga tao, wala yan, it will never work. Sinubukan na yan dati, hindi yan gagana. Maraming skeptical about it. But he eventually just, kumbaga sa open source technology, alam natin kung ano yung open source technology, di ba? Pinamigay niya yung Bitcoin sa buong mundo in 2009. Basically, nilabas niya doon, sabi niya, ito siya, this is the software, patakbuhin niyo kung gusto niyo, and we can create our own network. So, basically, in 2009, nung lumabas yung Bitcoin network, nung una, 2 lang sila, tapos naging 3, naging 4, naging 5. Ngayon, merong hundreds of thousands of millions of users of Bitcoin that are connected to each other. So,
through blockchain.
Oo, meron siyang ginagamit na blockchain, di ba? So, sana hindi pa rin kayo nalilito yung mga nakikinig kasi ang iniisip kasi natin pag Bitcoin, investment, parang stock market, pwedeng pagkakitaan, we can earn money. But that's actually not what it is. And number one, primarily, it's a technology. Number two, it's also a network where people can use the same technology as long as it's compatible with each other. In the same way we use email and iba-ibang mga internet protocols. Bitcoin has its own protocols in transferring value. And nagkataon lang na within the system, may sarili siyang currency. And yan yung pinagkakaguluhan ng mga tao ngayon. And since yung currency na to, this currency is by the monetary policy of Bitcoin, which is set in stone basically, sinabi niya there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. So, bakit niya sinabi yun? Di natin alam. Bakit niya pinili yung 21 million? Di natin alam. We don't know. But at the time, walang halaga. The first Bitcoin transaction in 2010 in the real world, may bumili ng pizza with 10,000 Bitcoins.
10,000.
Ilang pizza yon?
Is dalawang pizza.
Dalawang pizza. Ganun lang yung value niya.
Ganun lang yung value niya in 2010. Sabi niya, nagmamine ako ng Bitcoin eh. Pwede rin natin pag-usapan ng sandali yung mining. Pero sabi niya, nagmamine ako ng Bitcoin. That's the only way you can earn Bitcoin. You have to use your computing power to help the network. So ang dami niyang Bitcoin. Sabi niya, does anyone want to sell me, buy a pizza for me? Babayaran ko kayo ng Bitcoin with 10,000 Bitcoins. Which is, how much is that now? $130 million? Or
wow.
Something like
sorry.
that, yeah.
1.3 billion. Parang ganon. Something crazy like that. No? So parang it just goes to show the power of exponential network effects. So going back, yung currency na pinagkakaguluhan ng mga tao, this Bitcoin currency, is the native currency of this network. So bakit tumataas yung price niya? Basic supply and demand, economics, very limited ang supply, lumalaki ang demand, and the only thing that will give is the price. So, pag bumaba ang demand, bababa ang price. Pag tumaas ang demand, tataas ang price. Kasi fixed ang supply. So,
so na-stuck talaga sa 21 million, Miguel?
Di na yun dadami. So,
okay.
Medyo complicated, no? Yung pagka-issue niya, paano dumarami yung Bitcoins in the system. So, yung mga miners, yung mga people that secure the network with their computers, they earn Bitcoin as a reward. So, yun yung way na nai-issue yung bagong coins sa system. So, like you said, no, when I was on the show last early 2016, I think one Bitcoin was mga 20,000 pesos.
20,000, okay.
And at that
5,000 kanina, per 20, okay.
And at that time, mahal na rin yung mga tao sa Bitcoin. Kahit ako, namamahalan. 20,000 for anything is expensive, di ba? But now it's, like you said, 1.6 million. And
1.6, yeah.
Nagkaroon lang talaga siguro ng critical mass na yung demand palaki ng palaki. And then people that own Bitcoin like me or Colin or other people refuse to sell it. Which is also connected dun sa kinikwento mo kanina na GameStop. Pero hindi namin siya ibebenta. So, tumataas yung price. Kahit tumataas yung price, kahit nabili namin ng 20,000 and 1.6 million na siya ngayon, hindi pa rin namin siya binibenta. Kasi we believe in the technology. We believe in the potential of the network. So, in a nutshell, Bitcoin is a network, it's a technology, and it's also a currency, a digital currency. So, and sinasabi nila, this is the money of the internet. So, the first native digital money that nobody owns, hindi pag-aari ng any company, hindi pag-aari ng any government, hindi nila pwede mapigil. So, it really has the ethos of the internet, di ba? Kumbaga sa mga, if you believe in the internet, it was designed for, na-decentralize niya yung media, na-decentralize niya yung publishing, anyone has a voice now. So, in the world of finance, meron na rin tayong ganon. That's Bitcoin. And also, I think Colin will be able to also talk about the other blockchains and the other technologies that have, because of Bitcoin, naisip nilang gawin. So it's really a very big industry today compared to even just 5 years ago.
I just want to remind our viewers and mga listeners natin na Bitcoin po, it's not a physical money. There
digital
is no such
currency.
thing as a physical Bitcoin. Pwede nyo lang gawin cash yung Bitcoin. Pag may nakikita po kayong ATM, kasi may Bitcoin kayo in the wild. May Bitcoin kayo sa internet, yung pwede nyo pong i-withdraw yon through your local currency kung gusto ninyo.
Exchange.
Pero,
Parang money
yes,
changer.
exchange. Parang may foreign exchange po. Pero wala po talagang Bitcoin na meron yung pinapakita ng mga media na may parang coin, tapos may B, tapos gold. Hindi po totoo yun. There's no such thing. Wala, hindi po siya physical money.
It's
Hindi
just
po
a
siya paper.
representation.
Yeah, it's just a representation. Kasi may mga scammers kasi binibenta to as a coin, as a paper money. Hindi po ganon. Electronic money po ito. Okay, continue. Para lang alam nila.
Jing, quick question kay Miguel.
Yes.
Bakit fix yung
21 million?
Hindi yung Bitcoin system? At kaya sabi niya, kaya tumataas yung value dahil nga fixed daw yung supply, pero mataas yung demand, kaya tumataas yung value. Bakit fix yung supply, Miguel?
I would say that that's the monetary policy na pinili ni Satoshi Nakamoto. So, our monetary policy today, our modern financial system is inflationary. Pag kailangan ng pera, mag-print.
You can print, yes. You can print money. Yes.
May nangyari last year in the US. They printed more dollars than any year ever before combined last year. Kasi
especially now na hindi na connected sa gold ang money. So they can just
print.
Yeah.
So, we don't know bakit niya pinili yung 21 million. But we do know that a fixed supply which creates digital scarcity. For the first time, no, meron tayong digital na hindi mo pwedeng gayahin, hindi mo pwedeng i-clone at gamitin. Diba? Kasi, sorry, to add lang, no, Bitcoin is a solution to a computer science problem called the double spending problem. So if I have a digital peso, anything digital, madali kopyahin. And how do you know kung fake, alin yung fake at alin yung totoo? Tama? We do that by using third parties like GCash, Smart Money, Visa, Mastercard, mga ganyan. Palagi may middleman. Yung Bitcoin, walang middleman. So it's actually, that's why one of the reasons why it's one of the, it's digital cash. Parang nagbabayaran tayo ng cash. Abutan lang tayo ng pera.
Okay.
So yun nga, walang sagot kung bakit siya fixed supply. But really, yun yung napili nila na policy, monetary policy ng network.
So everyone's fighting for that 121 million na yan.
Yeah, pero you can actually buy 1,000 pesos worth of Bitcoin. May fraction siya hanggang 8.
Oh, yun nga eh. Explain you later about that fraction kasi 1 Bitcoin, you can actually break it into smaller
100 million parts.
Okay. Jing, let's bring in Colin and ask him siguro why Bitcoin is super in demand these days.
Yeah, great question. Hey guys. So yeah, I think the really critical piece is I think Miguel talked about the U.S. government and governments around the world continuing to print money to get out of economic crises, and so the creation of money does not create value, right? Money just denominates value, right? And so there's a fixed amount of economic activity, and if you're increasing the denominator, right? If you're increasing the dollar supply, the value per dollar, your inflation, your ability to interact with the economy goes down, right? And so I think for this reason, for a long time, investors, both personal investors and then large funds have for a long time saw gold as a remedy for this, right? So gold has been it's pretty it's provably scarce. There's only going to be so much gold in the world. It has a long history. It's durable, and so gold has been one of the types of assets that you use to combat inflation, right? Now, actually, I think a really strong narrative in the cryptocurrency community, and especially for Bitcoin, as we were talking about, there's only 21 million. And so because of that, there's a fixed supply. We know exactly the rate of new Bitcoin issuance. And so the narrative is that it's thought of as digital gold, right? And so in environments where there's a lot of printing of the money supply, Bitcoin is now becoming seen as a way to store value in the midst of significant money printing, right? And so I think previously, savvy individuals were, did their research and invested in Bitcoin. And now, I think in 2020, we saw a lot of interest from large institutions around the world, publicly traded companies, major hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, very savvy capital around the world decided to allocate a little bit into Bitcoin, right? And so the demand increased, right, significantly around the world. But again, the supply didn't increase, right? The supply will always be fixed. And so economically, when you have an increase in demand and no change to supply, the clearing price, right? If you think of supply demand curves, is that the price must go up, right? And so increasingly, there's increasing awareness around Bitcoin, and so increasingly, intelligent money has researched Bitcoin and decided to allocate capital to it, and so they have to get that Bitcoin from somewhere, right? And so the price increases because I think people who've been holding it for a long time are very reluctant to sell. And so, it's harder and harder to obtain it. And so the price goes up.
That's probably the reason why people forget their passwords, because they didn't want to sell their Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Just like what happened to that guy who threw out
his hard drive.
Yeah.
Pero
there was a famous recent one where someone had something like $270 million worth in a hard drive. And and exactly, I think this is the one you're referring to. And he had, I think the hard drive would delete or something if he guessed incorrectly too many times. And so there was an article, he had 2 guesses left to guess correctly. And, I think
he got locked out.
Or he would get locked out. And so he has, I don't think he knows what to do. I don't think he's made his guesses yet.
Yeah, but Colin, you gave a very good analogy regarding the gold as a standard. Now I understand Bitcoin much better because of that analogy.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Digital gold. Yeah.
Yes. You were saying something, Miguel?
No, I was just gonna add a little bit yung sa sinasabi ni Colin, yung how these institutions are getting into Bitcoin. Paano ba? Kasi when you say they're getting into Bitcoin, anong ginagawa nila? Bumibili ba sila ng Bitcoin? Yes, they're actually allocating part of yung treasury reserves nila. Kunyari, may $1 billion in cash yung isang malaking company. And then yung worth ng cash na yon, because of inflation every year, nababawasan ng 5% of purchasing power. And if you have $1 billion, $50 million yung mawawala sa'yo next year of purchasing power. They're looking for assets that are behaving on its own. Hindi siya correlated sa nangyayari sa buong mundo. It has its own different set of rules, different kind of monetary policy. So that's why they invest in gold, they invest in silver, they sometimes invest a little bit in foreign stock exchanges or whatever, hindi lang puro sa US, even though they're a US company. The BSP itself has 2.8 trillion pesos of equities na nakatabi. We also own 400 billion pesos worth of gold. So our own central bank has its own mga hedges. Even if they can print money themselves, diba? It doesn't guarantee na So Bitcoin has started to become a reliable asset. Kasi 10 years na, 12 years na siya, nandito pa rin siya, hindi pa rin siya nawawala. Nagtataka yung mga tao, narinig ko yan 5 years ago. Ngayon, nandito pa rin siya and it's now 1.6 million. So parang yung mga big players, big financial players around the world are saying, totoo to. This is not a joke. Let's allocate 1% of our money to this. Wala na mawawala. Parang ganon. So that 1% for a small asset like Bitcoin, which is about $600 billion in total market capitalization, gagalaw yung price talaga. Gagalaw siya pag pumasok yung malalaking players. So yun yung nangyayari.
So the current price of Bitcoin ngayon, steady na yan. Kasi just 2 days ago, it was 1.4 million. Ngayon, it's 1.6. Gaano ka yung changes? Gaano ka drastic? Pero last couple of years ago, I know that the prices was really, the difference is really drastic. But now it's kind of, just a small changes.
It's still very volatile.
I can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So part of that is, it's tough to compare because we think of Bitcoin versus, stocks, bonds, government treasuries, gold, real estate, right? You think of other asset classes, and these other asset classes already have significant share of global GDP, right? All of them have, at least a handful of percentage of global GDP stored in them. They also have been around for, several decades, if not hundreds of years, or in the case of a gold or silver, thousands of years, right? In theory, you could create a price chart for gold that goes back to, 10,000 BCE, right? Or something like that, right? So the reason that is not volatile is that the human economy, right, has existed for thousands of years. And so we've had a long time to price those assets as a percentage of our global economy, right, as a species. And so Bitcoin is like 12 years old, something like that. And so it just turned 12, and Bitcoin's just a kid. And so, kids have the big mood swings, and they don't have the maturity or the experience yet to really be priced in, right? So the global economy is still figuring out how much of global economic activity should be put into digital assets, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, because it's brand new. It's just over 10 years old. And so it's not really the right comparison, because if when stocks were just starting, right? When stocks were only 12 years old, it was, a stock exchange. I think the first one was in Amsterdam, for instance. It's like they were crazy volatile, right? I mean, that was the era of tulip mania and all of this stuff, right? And it was because people didn't know about stocks, right? People didn't know how to price them. And so it was incredibly volatile when it was still young as well. And now, 200 or 300 years later, we have a good understanding of that asset class. And so even if it's volatile sometimes, it's a lot less volatile because there's, hundreds of years of knowledge about it.
Colin and Miguel, let's get some comments from our viewers here. So, Ira James says, I tied Bitcoin mining on my gaming PC equipped with 2 beefy graphics cards, consuming around 250 watt per card. With that setup, I was only able to get less than $1 a day. It's so hard to mine Bitcoin right now because of the scale of competition. So is that the situation right now?
Well, actually, you are not able to mine Bitcoin with a graphics card anymore. It's basically impossible. You can join a mining pool and then help, parang ipupool nyo together yung computing power nyo, no?
Yeah.
Pero
that was the trend kasi a couple of years ago, eh.
with the electricity prices here, you'll probably pay more electricity than you will earn.
Siguro
We have
nga.
very expensive electricity in the Philippines. So, huwag ka magmamine dito. That's actually not a good idea.
Yeah.
But the good thing about Bitcoin mining is the Bitcoin miners find efficiency. Kung saan maraming electricity na mura, doon sila nagpupunta. Kung saan maraming electricity na sayang, hindi nagagamit, ginagamit nila yon to mine Bitcoin. So, yeah.
Okay, the
Dapat
famous
solar-powered.
mom blogger Noemi Larizabaldado says, Ether, siguro Ethereum, she's referring to, is rising faster than Bitcoin lately.
Yeah, I can speak to that one. So,
Sure.
So what Bitcoin created when it was originally conceived, Bitcoin was a rare moment in technology history where the structure to build a thing came out at the same time as the application, right? So you think of things like the computing industry. There were generations of chipsets that were developed in tandem as computers were first developed, right? These sorts of things. Bitcoin was very rare in that the application, which is the currency, and the technology, which is the blockchain, were started simultaneously. So I think people are still very excited about Bitcoin, but they've also taken the underlying technology, which is the blockchain, and they've tried other applications of it. And so Ethereum is the second largest and second most valuable cryptocurrency in the world. And whereas Bitcoin is very conservative and very focused on being a store of value, being a global monetary system, Ethereum still isn't as a valuable asset, but it's actually focusing on something much more sophisticated, which is being a global computing platform for for what are called smart contracts. So it's basically a way to run decentralized internet applications that anyone can access, but nobody controls. And so Ethereum is rising quickly because there's a lot of developers. It's a very functional platform, very convenient for developers to use, and there's more experimentation on their platform. And so another narrative in the cryptocurrency space is that there's a lot of economic activity happening on Ethereum. So it's growing very, very rapidly. And then also it's even younger than Bitcoin, right? So, it would maybe be more correct to compare, I think Ethereum is 6 years old, or I think it's going to turn 7 this year. And so it would maybe be more correct to compare Ethereum when versus Bitcoin when it was 6 or 7, right? Bitcoin has, significant, if you think about it as a percentage, Bitcoin's been around for a much longer percentage, right? Like 80% longer than Ethereum.
Yeah, okay. Let's touch on
there was a time that everyone was building their own cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Yeah?
So that was in.
What's your take on this?
So because of the technology, it's open source. Anyone can use it. It's open for everybody. You don't need permission to use this technology. So I could make a Miguel's Bitcoin network.
Pacquiao has a Bitcoin.
Yeah, Pacquiao has his own coin, right? So I could do that. I could copy Ethereum. I could copy Bitcoin. They're all open technology. So the question is, may gagamit ba? And a lot of people found out that nobody wants to use the money that you're giving them, right? Yeah. So it was mostly a way to enrich people that started it, and a lot of people did get rich. A lot of people used it, like you said, scams. You were talking about scams. ICO scams. They will offer you coins, tapos they never had a plan to do anything with it. They'll just take your money and leave. So sadly, with any new technology, we have those kinds of people that are gonna prey on the new users. Similar to the internet, when the email was new, everyone was getting I didn't know I had a Nigerian prince relative that I sent money to. Pero it's the same, like with any new technology, diba? So that time in 2017 and 2018, nagkaroon ng boom in what's called ICOs, or initial coin offerings. So parang IPO, parang stock market, but it was mostly vaporware. So parang idea lang, but they were able to sell their idea for $10 million, $20 million, $30 million. And
I would point to a couple things, right? So you got to remember that nobody centrally controls Bitcoin or Ethereum or some of these other projects, right? If you think of a company that works hard to make money, and if they want to IPO or even raise private capital and stuff, there is a regulator, there's a financial institutions, there's several layers of permissions that they have to go through in order to do that, right? And so as a consumer, maybe you usually think you're more protected as an investment in these sorts of things. In cryptocurrency, it's very volatile, and it's, there's not always controls on who can invest, who can launch a project, right? And so, I think something I know Miguel and I are both, pretty passionate about this is we know that it's bad for our industry to have fraudulent products or even just low quality projects, right? And so, I think we always are careful to give advice on trading or currencies, because people need to be very vigilant, right? It doesn't have the same level of institutional controls telling people to stop, right? And then the other thing I would say is there were a lot of coins that were created in 2017 and 2018 in what we call the ICO boom. But actually, I think maybe this was our equivalent of the .com era, right? Mm-hmm. Not all of the projects that launched during that time period were low quality, right? Many of them were, yeah, exactly. Many of in both .com and in ICO, right? There were many low quality projects that, and we didn't get a chance to properly weed them out or vet them, and maybe they haven't done as well since then. But there are plenty of projects that were that have been very successful and have continued to build, quality teams and quality communities, and continue to launch their product. So, that parallel is, many of the ideas in the .com era maybe didn't work, right? So, pets.com and all of these other sort of, Webvan and these sorts of things. Yeah, right. Lots of just .coms, but actually the ones that did the best are now literally running the global economy, right? So Amazon and even eBay and all the use cases from the .com era. Yeah, right. These are they were use cases that were understood the internet, and they weren't just trying to bring what exists outside of the internet onto the internet, right? And the same is happening in crypto. So some of them were high quality, but many of them were not.
So may mga naiwan doon sa mga projects. All those projects, hundreds or thousands of projects, there are a few that are still here and they're doing well, and they're actually showing that they really, wanna do something with the technology and not just to make a quick buck.
Colin and Miguel, let's touch on a bit from this comment from Carlos Nazareno na sabi niya Reddit people are currently pumping up Dogecoin cryptocurrency in GameStop. Umakyat ang value. Let's also discuss the GameStop thing, no? I think they're using Bitcoin to trade shares. Is that right?
No. Well, I'll let you speak more in depth, Colin, about it. But the GameStop thing is not connected to Bitcoin.
Yes.
It was not connected to Bitcoin.
Indirectly.
It's a
Indirectly.
It was a stock market thing. It was a US stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Pero now it's starting to, because of what happened to them, they're starting to realize how important Bitcoin is, how important it is to have something that cannot be controlled by the powers that be, let's say, because they were basically forced to stop buying the stocks that they wanted to buy because it was affecting negatively yung mga billionaires
the hedge funds
that wanted the stock to fall down.
Yeah.
So yung mga retail investors, they didn't
small
care.
ones. Yeah.
Wala silang pakialam kahit kano mahal, they were willing to buy. Pinagbawalan sila. So that's why marami nagalit. But Colin can explain a little bit more in detail, I guess.
Colin, is this the revenge of the nerds?
A little bit. It's got a nerd element, and it's
people
got
power.
Yes, it's people power.
Exactly.
Nerd power.
Yeah, it's a rebellion against people who have captured the system.
Yeah.
Right. It's the belief that not everyone is playing on the same playing field, and every time there's an attempt to play on the same playing field, and institutions stop that from happening, it kind of pulls the lid off of people's eyes that not everything is fair, right? And so to speak to the Dogecoin part, people kind of just got I would say that the crowd that came from Reddit on this subreddit called Wall Street Bets, they were really focused on a set of stocks, in primarily GameStop, but they also had AMC Theaters and a few others that were shorted by the hedge fund managers, and their goal was to kind of they realized that the short positions by the hedge fund managers were far too large relative to the size of the stock. And so they kind of, eventually they realized they could pile on and, boost these companies and boost the market to really stick it to the hedge fund class, right? And so, as part of that, there was kind of just this frenzy of investment activity. And then, when things started to get blocked, people said, hey, this really demonstrates the use case of cryptocurrencies, right? For a stock, anyone can, various institutions can shut it down. It can be tightly controlled, whereas cryptocurrency, that's not possible, right? And so two cryptocurrencies have done very well. One is Bitcoin, but the one before that did very well is is kind of a long-running joke in the cryptocurrency, or kind of a long-running meme in the cryptocurrency community called Dogecoin. It's a picture of the that little dog, that Shiba Inu meme. It's the cute dog, and essentially what it demonstrates is, hey, even this token that is used kind of it's nominally useless, but its technology architecture is based on Bitcoin. It's like it's like a second cousin of Bitcoin. It's based on Litecoin. And so it was their way of saying, even this asset that kind of is used in a fun, community way, which is kind of how Dogecoin is used. It has a very low value, so you can say, hey, thanks so much for helping me with thanks for giving me advice. Let me give you 10 Dogecoin, right? But really, it's I think each Dogecoin for a long time was less than a peso, and so it was kind of a way to tip your friends on the internet. It's very community focused, right? It's not valueless, right? Community on the internet has value. These sorts of things, and so when they pump a meme coin like Dogecoin, it's them validating, hey, at least this is an asset class that can't be controlled. It's got a tight community. It understands the internet, and they could never stop us from doing this,
buying this or selling.
Right? Yeah, and so it's in many ways it's almost one way to think of it is like is like market activity. The other way to think about it is almost performance art, right? It's the crowd telling institutions that look at all these other assets that have great communities that can't be manipulated, right?
That can have value.
A middle finger to the hedge funds.
Exactly.
It is actually. It is that.
Yeah.
What it is.
Totally.
It's a 98% versus the 2%.
Because of technology, it's possible. Robinhood app, which is the app that the retail users are using to buy stocks. They can buy stocks just with your phone. That's how they were able to do it. And when Robinhood itself kumampi dun sa mga hedge fund and shut down their accounts, wala. Now they realize that it's important to have something like Bitcoin that no one can control and no one owns, and it's only operating purely on market rules, like free market rules, supply and demand, network effects, and those things, but no politics, no manipulation, no human greed and intervention involved. So that's why it highlighted Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, yung nangyari sa GameStop.
Yeah, but Colin, can we backtrack a bit? Because a while ago there was a question. What is short selling? Just a bit of explanation so people would be able to understand what really happened with GameStop.
Yeah, great. So normally when you invest in not just a stock but really anything, you are putting your money in with the expectation that it will go up, right? A regular investment is a bet that it will go up, right? So, but if you actually have, so a regular investment is supposed to be a positive view of a company's prospects, right? But if you actually have a negative prospect where you think, hey, this company is probably going to be less valuable in the future, how do you capture that value, right? A normal investment is, you can only capture the upside, and you can't make the bet that it'll go down. And so what a short sell is it's essentially a bet that it will go down, right?
Yeah, bet against it.
Yeah, and so basically what you're doing is if I think that Google is going to go down, I will borrow Miguel's shares of Google. I'll sell them, and then I'll say, hey, I owe you 5 shares of Google, right? I'll sell the 5 shares, and then I'll wait, and then I have a legal obligation to return 5 shares of Google to Miguel, and then I'll wait for the price to go down, and then buy 5 new shares, give it back to him
for less,
and then and then I've sold it for more money, and then bought it for less money, but he still keeps his 5 shares of Google, and then I get the difference, right?
Yeah.
So that's your way to bet against it. But what you'll notice in a short position, when you regularly buy a stock, which is called going long, you're looking to capture the upside value, And the most you can ever lose when you go long is what you put into it, right? So if I buy a stock for 1,000 pesos, and I hope that it goes to someday 2,000 pesos, right? But I can ride it all the way up to 10,000 pesos if I want to. I have whatever the upside of the company is. That's my long exposure. But actually, the most I could possibly lose is the 1,000 I put into it.
Yeah.
Right. So it actually has a very positive upside asymmetry. Right. It has a very positive direction up. Right. And the most you can lose is what you put into it. With the short, it's the exact opposite. Right. So if it's at 1,000, if it's at 2,000, and I think it's going to go down to 1,000, the most I can capture is 2,000 per share, right? If it goes all the way down to zero, I can capture the full amount, the full amount that I have to sell for, right? However, if I'm wrong in my bet and it goes up to 10,000, or
you have to pay an infinite amount.
Yeah, right.
And that's what happened to the hedge funds.
Exactly. So basically, right, there's no limit to the amount you can lose in a short sell, right? And so what happens is, if everyone is buying it and the person you borrowed from says, hey, I need my 5 shares of Google back, right?
You have to buy it.
You have to say, well, it might be much worse than that. It might actually be, you have to pay that amount, but then it's actually
at a loss,
pay more,
at a big loss.
But also, here's the thing, right? If you're a hedge fund and your short position is millions and millions of dollars,
billions,
the amount that you have to cover your short, the amount I owe back, right? So instead of instead of 5 shares of Google returning to Miguel, instead I have to cover 5 million shares, and there's not 5 million people selling their shares. There's literally no way for me to get out of my short position, right? So it is
to be able to buy
it, and you basically get driven to bankruptcy, right? And so what happened in GameStop? What happened in GameStop was
the Redditor started buying the stocks.
It was, yes, definitely. So what happened
Small
was
players.
It was the short exposure to GameStop was 160% of the market cap, right? So that means it was literally impossible for every single hedge fund to cover, right?
Yeah.
Because actually there was more people betting against it than there existed shares, right? And so it has systemic effects in the hedge fund industry now, because I think the Redditors, the masses, very intelligently found, they found the little window in the Death Star, right? The window in the Death Star.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So it's, out of all the companies, it wasn't the big ones, it wasn't the FANG stocks or anything. It was GameStop, right?
Yeah.
And so, the main person who was public about shorting was this hedge fund called Melvin Capital, who was, he's a young guy, star of the hedge fund industry, used to work at some other fabled hedge funds. And so he kind of has become his hedge fund is called Melvin Capital. And he's kind of become the villain or the poster boy. But then actually other hedge funds invested in him. And, in order to cover it, he has to sell some of his other stocks. And so those shares are tanking. And so actually you're seeing that in the current institutional system, there's compounding effects, because everyone kind of has their arms, their hands in each other's pockets.
Yeah.
And so it's a vulnerability where, there's a lot of people that are maybe relishing this as a victory, but there's a lot of ways that, this is it's gonna hurt a lot of hedge fund managers, right?
Like the subprime in 2008.
Exactly. And also it also kind of exposes these kinds of bad things that are going on. Like, how can you short more stock than there exists of that stock?
Yeah.
Why are they allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Kasi billions ang tinitrade nila, hindi katulad natin na thousands lang.
Yeah.
Diba?
They're doing it, it's okay, but when the small players does it,
bawal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the people in Wall Street Bets and Reddit are doing is not illegal. They just want to buy more, no matter what the price. Diba?
Yeah.
So
They're crying foul.
yeah,
The big
there's
boys.
a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit. They're doing a class action lawsuit, and that it's actually parang an eye opener, for everyone. I think.
That's true. That's true.
Good.
So
So
yeah,
one
that's
last
where Bitcoin comes in.
yeah.
Yeah, and
one
that's where-
last one last piece, and sorry to interrupt. A last critical piece here is, so this has been happening through January, right? It's called a short squeeze, right? So the hedge funds and stuff have been, the value of GameStop has been going up, and it's because the people on Reddit and the Wall Street Bets crowd on Reddit and Twitter and Discord and other social networks have been explaining what's happening and trying to get people onto their side. And so two things as part of that. One, they're being more effective at kind of sticking it to Wall Street, which I think is something that has been the aim of many protest movements in the past, like Occupy Wall Street and these sorts of things.
Occupy Wall Street.
They're doing it by beating them at their own game, right? And then the other piece of that is, so the way they did it is they're getting everyone to buy GameStop, almost in an act of protest, right? However, Robinhood, which is the app that most of them were using to buy the stock, Robinhood said you're not allowed to buy the stock anymore. You're only allowed to sell it, right? And then their social media, their different platforms and stuff, those were shut down for what seemed like arbitrary reasons and stuff. And so even when they find the vulnerability, there's a perception that the pushback, or the way that they fight back or the way that the institutions and the hedge funds fight back is very unfair, right? And so Citadel, which is one of the key investors in Melvin Capital, they're actually also one of the investors in Robinhood, and they're one of Robinhood's biggest customers. So Robinhood allows you to trade with zero fees, and the way they make money instead is they sell your data to hedge funds so that hedge funds can front run you. So Citadel is one of their largest customers, right? And so and I think, to the point on cryptocurrencies, right? It's, there was an original promise of the internet, which is decentralized, democratized, these sorts of things. And instead we've created centralized platforms that monetize you in ways that you don't suspect, right? And so we think of Facebook and Twitter and Google, and they're selling our data and stuff.
You are the product.
Yeah, and so people there's not much trading fees in Robinhood, and so instead they're selling your data to hedge funds, right? So that's why Bitcoin, right? That's why cryptocurrencies. That's why blockchain technologies. So
centralized finance.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, before we run out of time, Colin and Miguel, I'd like to ask you one last question regarding the credibility and the safety, the safetiness of buying Bitcoin, trading Bitcoin, because there's one commenter here, si Julie Tanaka. She was offered to invest in Bitcoin, but apparently she's being scammed because hindi naman daw fake, hindi totoo yung IG account na nagko-offer sa kanya. So how do you know if it's a legit trader or exchange, and how do you invest basically
for the newbies out there? When they want to get into cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ether, can you give us some pointers before we finish this discussion?
Sige. Okay. I guess I'll start. Here locally, number one, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably a scam. Number two, Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of these things, they're not investment schemes. You're making a bet on a technology succeeding. So, pag sinabi nila you'll earn 3% a day, 10% a week, or 30% a month, or whatever, hindi yan totoo. Just run away. There's no other conversation to make there. Another thing is the central bank in the Philippines, if you want to work with talk to a local exchange, meron naman license dapat. You can ask them. Now, for the global exchanges, which you can also use actually, like Binance and a few, there are several other well-established global exchanges. So if you have the ability to open accounts with them, if you have US dollars to wire, so you can start trading there, pwede yun. Established in well-established countries and very public yung mga companies na to. And I think Colin will be able to talk a little bit more about how Binance does it globally.
Yeah.
If you're buying Bitcoin and you're not holding it yourself, if it's not sent to your wallet, you don't own that. Make sure na if you're buying Bitcoin, make sure that the person that you're acquiring it from is at least a legitimate seller or a legitimate exchange. And I think we have more than 5 or 6 of them na local. They're like money changers. We're actually like money changers. We're classified as parang remittance outlet and money changers. So basically, pag nagpapalit ka ng peso to Bitcoin and Bitcoin to peso, you can do that sa tabi-tabi, pero baka ma-hold up ka. O kaya, you can go to an accredited money changer and do it there. And then make sure lang na you actually understand how to store the Bitcoins or the Ethereum coins yourself. So may ways to do that. There's a lot of resources out there like bitcoin.org. And if you just look up, how to store Bitcoins, marami kang makikitang mga resources out there. And in terms
this is done virtually, huh?
Yeah, online lang lahat. So you know how to open a GCash account or Smart PayMaya account or even a Coins.PH account, right? It's the same thing. So there's a learning curve. Di nyo kaagad matututunan paano hawakan, kahit kami nga, we've been doing it for a long time. When I send a big amount of Bitcoin, I still feel a little scared. But marami na, I think just do your own research. That's one of the most important things. Study first before you invest in anything. Hindi ka magtatayo ng restaurant kung hindi ka naman marunong magluto, di ba? So, if you want to invest or if you want to buy cryptocurrencies, try to learn a little bit more about it before. Wag magpadala sa greed, na you're gonna make this much money. Colin, maybe you want to add.
Yeah, I'll start by asking a question to you guys. You know what the word what con stands for in con man?
Artist.
Yeah, in con artist or con man, what does the con part stand for? Do you guys know? It stands for confidence. So a con man is a confidence
man.
So the reason that is when they're trying to con you and they're confident that they're going to give you a return, right? That's actually the thing that should make you suspicious. When people like Miguel and I go up on these kinds of shows, we're very careful, right? We're saying, we keep saying do your own research. We keep saying, institutions have looked into this and did their own research. At no point have we told you that it's a good idea to buy cryptocurrencies. We're only kind of pattern matching to other people that have done it, right? So, yeah, I'd say if anyone is very sure of the return of cryptocurrency or anything, they're confident, and that's literally where that word comes from, right? So nobody can guarantee you a return. Even the largest platforms in the world, like Binance, are very careful in terms of how we message it to our customers, because at no point are we going to not tell you that it's a high risk investment. We can't tell you which ones are the right ones to choose. There's many different choices, and so when there's it's a large open system, there's a lot of personal accountability that is needed. So if you're going to invest in cryptocurrencies, make sure you have that accountability, and as Miguel said, do your own research. And then in terms of just practical advice, I'd say probably start at some of the larger cap positions, Bitcoin, Ethereum, those sorts of things, because there's actually more research to read about them. There's more access points that are high quality access points, these sorts of things, right? So probably start with Bitcoin before you meaningfully look at Ethereum. and then start with Bitcoin and Ethereum before you meaningfully look at many of the others, right? So, really, don't start with the thing that people tell you is going to be the next Bitcoin or the next Ethereum, right? I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, have a lot of development left, in order to for those projects to become successful. So it's not like it's not like the game is over for them. And then in terms of in the Philippines, right? So a few things. There are established players in this market that are companies, right? Go to a company that is well known and whose reputation relies on you not being scammed, right? So Binance and Satoshi Citadel and Coins.PH, and these are platforms that are not in the business. If there were legitimate scam cases against us, it would impact our business in really bad ways, right? And so we're not in the cryptocurrency business. Before that, we're in the reputation business. And so, figure out, work with people who will be negatively impacted by negative reputations, right? And so, that sort of thing actually, matters a lot in cryptocurrency.
Okay, thank you very much, Colin and Miguel, for your very exhaustive discussion on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We'd like
since Bitcoin is powered by blockchain, it's also based on trust.
Yes, correct. Oo. Pero wala na tayong oras, Jing, so we have to wrap up our show.
Kulang pa rin pala, no? Kahit hanggang 9:30 tayo, kulang pa rin ang oras natin.
Sabi nga ni Miguel, it usually takes
you can come back
hours and days to discuss.
Let us know.
These things.
We can do this every week.
Yes,
okay, thank you very much, Miguel and Colin. Jing, basahin ko lang yung
Melvin, you should have a cryptocurrency segment na, di ba?
Yeah. Yes. That's a good suggestion. Sabi ni Roderick Corpus, one of our commenters here, started Bitcoin in May 2020. It was $20,000. Now it's almost $40K. Impressive. Oy, balato naman dyan, Roderick. Meron ka ano.
Congrats.
You can provide some tips to TechSabado.
Yeah.
Kahit dalawang nodes lang.
Sabi niya, si Benji Unabia, sabi niya, bumabagsak ang economy sa whole world pero ang Bitcoin tumataas. Amazed talaga ako sa Bitcoin.
Yun na nga eh.
That's why it's a hedge, diba? It's a hedge talaga.
Correct. Okay, si Naz, thank you for your comments. Sabi ni Benji, Binance is a legit broker. Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah.
And,
also, Melvin, I'd like to add, yung sa mga people that are interested in the community, merong very vibrant crypto community in the Philippines. Hashtag CryptoPH. Napin nyo lang sa Telegram group and also, on Twitter and everything. So we're very active and we're very supportive of each other, and we help each other. And we try to guide people from getting scammed also. So at least you can ask experts there. Parang you're going to have a network of people that are very knowledgeable in the space.
Yeah, our industry is very young, and so we've gotten to a place where we have good collaboration between the key stakeholders in the community and in the businesses. And I think we're united on things like making sure quality projects win, making sure we weed out scams, making sure we help people get started and those sorts of things. Have a good experience with that. So yeah, it's a very sort of the community's in a great spot right now. I think for the Philippines.
CryptoPH.
Yeah.
Like in the media industry where credibility is paramount, I don't know, in the Bitcoin industry, it's also the trust and credibility is also very, very important.
Very much so, yeah.
I'd like to make a clarification that I don't own Melvin Capital.
Yeah.
And
I was going to accuse you.
Yeah.
I'm not Citadel.
Okay, thank you very much,
Colin.
Colin.
You sana for being
thank you guys.
Hedge fund.
Hi guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin Goltra of Binance and of course and Arsuki Miguel Cuneta Satoshi Citadel. Good evening. Thank you.
Alright, guys.
And see you again, folks, next
Hopefully.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
guys.
will
See
invite
you
you again, Colin and
Sure.
Miguel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Attorney, paalam na.
Okay, kita-kita po ulit tayo next week. Thank you for tuning in to our show for tonight.
Yes, okay. Jing Garcia po ng TechSabado. This is our longest episode kasi tungkol sa Bitcoin.
Oo nga.
Lagpas na tayo ng natin. Overtime na tayo kahit na extended na yung ating oras. Pero syempre, huwag niyo pong kalimutan, Sunday Business and IT po bukas sa Sunday Times ng The Manila Times. Like and follow niyo po ang aming mga social media pages. Facebook.com/TechSabado, Facebook.com/Newsbytes.PH. Sa Twitter din po kami at TechSabado at saka at Newsbytes.PH. Mga nanonood sa TechSabado YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up kung nagustuhan niyo po ang aming programa at click niyo po ang subscribe button below ng ating video and the notification bell kung gusto niyo pong ma-alert agad kung may mga bagong video upload sa TechSabado. Of course, ang aming website, TechSabado.com and Newsbytes.PH. Remind ko ulit yung mga viewers natin, don't forget to send and show your support. Tumatanggap din po kami ng Bitcoin. Nandiyan po yung link sa aming mga post. Sa aming mga post dito sa Facebook at saka sa YouTube kung paano nyo po ito gagawin. Maraming salamat. As usual, TLDT Smart Group Corporation, TLDT Smart Group Corporate Communications Team for their continuing support. Lalo na sa mga kaibigan natin, Miss Cathy Yang, Althea, Ellie, Monette, Kate, and of course, si Wo. Huwag natin kalimutan si Wo. Thank you, MSI, AMD, Noctua for their support on our tech news website, TechSabado.com. XSplit for support on our weekly streaming. Tandaan, hindi lahat ng nasa internet ay ito. Pangalagaan niyo po ang inyong mga data or private and personal information para makaiwas po sa identity theft at data theft. Narinig niyo po yung ating mga guests kanina. Marami pong scam pagdating sa Bitcoin. Ingat-ingat po kayo. Dahil kayo po ang first line of defense laban sa mga kalokohan sa internet. Kaya ingat po. Keep in mind, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Respetuhin po natin ang karapatang pantao. Dito na po nagtatapos ang TechSabado. Hope to interact with you again on Facebook and YouTube next Saturday. Wear a mask, stay home, stay safe. Don't forget our Wednesday podcast in between. Tuwing Wednesdays po, 8 p.m. din po. Have a great weekend, everyone. February na po sa Monday, kaya tapos na po ang January. Maraming salamat po sa pagnood ng TechSabado ngayon linggong ito. Bye!